My name is Celeste, and this is Yarn to Table, a podcast about my knitting life as well as other crafty, makery goodness. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. If this is your very first time watching me, welcome. Thank you for being here. I hope that you see something that you like and that you'll subscribe so that you can see more from me. I post a podcast basically every single Monday. And you should know that we have a Ravelry group as well that you can find a link to in the doobly-doo. And I hope that you'll join that group because you can find show notes for every episode there, as well as information about all the KALs and any kind of giveaway that we might have. You can also find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Celeste Full. And I keep detailed project pages on Ravelry, so you can find details about any projects there as well. You can also find links via the blog posts option that connects to every project page on Ravelry to the podcasts here, so that you can connect projects to podcasts in case you want to see something from the archives where I talked about a project that you see that you're interested in. And as I mentioned, we have KALs going on the Ravelry group. So right now there are two KALs happening. The first is the Great Unravel 2017, which I am co-hosting with Caitlin of Wool Jewel and Taylor of Wool Needles Hands. And that has been extended through July 17th. If you haven't heard of it, the concept here is unraveling a sweater and repurposing the yarn into something new. There are lots of details and rules mentioned in the thread on Ravelry. There's already a finished objects thread open as well as a chatter thread, so definitely check that out. And you can also post your finished objects into the threads on Caitlin's and Taylor's channels. Just make sure that you're subscribed to their channels so that you're giving them some love, as well as recognizing when your name is announced if you are a winner. The other knit along that I have, I'm co-hosting with Anna of the Dunkelgrün podcast, and this is the Summer Garment KAL, which is running through the end of August. You can knit as many garments as you like, one entry per garment, and basically they have to be a summer garment, which we have roughly defined in the rules that you can find in those forum posts as well. Although if you have any direct questions or any concerns about it, don't hesitate to ask me or Anna. And both of these are knit-alongs that you can double dip into. In fact, Anna and I are both double dipping into the two of them by knitting summer garments with unraveled repurposed yarn. So you can certainly do that. Let's see. I announced the winner of a knit along that ended a couple weeks ago. It was for the New Socks KAL, and that winner was the Zensha from Croatia. I have not heard from you yet, so I'm going to give you another week to message me on Ravelry and let me know contact information so that I can send out your prize. Unfortunately, if I don't hear from you in another week's time, which would be the next time I record is going to be on June 3rd. So if I haven't heard from you on June 3rd, Saturday, June 3rd, I'm going to have to do another drawing and try to find another winner, because the winners for the knit-alongs, you know, there's a lot of effort that goes into the prize. This is a hand knit or a hand dyed beautiful skein of yarn that Andy of 10,000 Stitches generously donated, and I just need to make sure that the winner of every give-along, I always want to say give-along. I want to make sure that the winner of every knit-along or giveaway is somebody who's a part of the community, and so you need to actually be watching the podcast to hear that you're a winner and then contact me. Unfortunately, I can't just contact you on Ravelry, because if I did, basically anyone could enter any knit along at any moment and not necessarily be somebody who was involved in the community. And so I just want to sort of give privilege to the people that are watching every week, if that makes sense. I hope that doesn't sound unfair, but that's my thought process. So the Zensha was very active on the threads in the knit along, so I I really hope that she is watching and maybe just hadn't gotten around to contacting me or something like that. So make sure that you do contact me if you are watching. But if I haven't heard from you, I will need to do another drawing and announce another winner. So now that we have everything administrative out of the way, we can get on with the knitting after I do my obligatory tea talk. So let's see. What I'm drinking today, you may have noticed a little different. It's iced tea, and this is just plain peppermint unsweetened iced tea. It is quite warm, has been quite warm here. End of May is about when our summer weather starts in Cincinnati. So this is very refreshing and doing me good. One more thing before knitting. I have a new little segment, which is what am I wearing? So I want to show you guys what I'm wearing. I'll only do this when I'm wearing something I've made, obviously. This is a very recent item that you haven't seen fully made on the podcast yet because I finished it a couple weeks ago, and then I didn't wear it on the podcast because I was either wearing something else I had made or it was in the laundry or something like that. So this is my Bateen dress. I showed you this in pieces a few weeks ago when I was part way through making it. So I'll just stand up, give you a bit of an idea of it. It has an elastic waist here and these really lovely pockets that you can see. This moon print is a wonderful light toile, I believe, fabric from fabric.com. And then it has a nice little, the sleeve is literally just like an off the shoulder sleeve. It's not set in or anything. And it has a tulip shaped skirt. You can see a better full body photo of it on Instagram at Celestful. And yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. I love this. It's breathable, comfortable. Here on the sleeves, I've folded up the cuff and I've actually hand stitched it in 4 places. And I did that. You could do it by machine, but I wanted it to be totally invisible just because it's like such a noticeable detail. So that's a nice little detail that it has. The pockets are obviously very, very cute. But it's also just a really, really basic pattern. You don't have to bother with setting in sleeves. It's done with really easy fabric to work with, a woven fabric, not anything knit. So I think this is a fantastic first project for anybody who's looking to knit a garment for the first time. I would totally recommend this. And of course, Tilly and the Buttons in general, because she walks you through all of the steps with great detail and just the visuals that you need. It just makes the entire process so much more enjoyable, even if you're more of a seasoned sewer. It's so much more difficult to make those mistakes when everything has been sort of laid out for you and accounted for. All of the ways that you could misinterpret it or not understand have already been sort of tested, and it's just very user-friendly. Okay, so let's talk about finished objects. I have 2 knitted finished objects this week, both very small things and things that I knit in one sitting, actually in the same sitting on Friday. So tiny little guys. So on Friday I had only a half day because it's the long weekend, Memorial Day here in the US, and I dedicated my afternoon to sitting on my porch and just having a lovely time in the wonderful weather. It's not too hot out there because I have a giant tree in front of my house, and I read and I drank iced coffee and it was lovely. And then after I had some dinner, I spent my evening knitting on these things. So a little while ago, I think that I mentioned that I wanted to send some little like care packages type gifty things to a couple other podcasters. And the concept with this, so basically it started when I made my Gilmore Girls patchwork bag, because I ordered the fabric as little 8-inch square samples to get a bunch of different prints. Each of them, I used half of it, and so I had exactly the amount to make another project bag. And I was trying to think who might like a Gilmore Girls project bag, and I knew that Katie of Insight Number 23 was a Gilmore Girls fan because she had vlogged watching A Year in the Life when it came out with her mom. So I contacted her, and basically that just spurred an idea that I could contact a few of the podcasters who I loved who had really inspired me to start Yarn to Table, and just make something nice for them as a kind of thank you gift, just to like introduce myself and say like, you know, you inspired me and I appreciate it. So I reached out to a couple different podcasters, and I heard back from Katie as well as Kristen from Yarngasm. And I decided to make them a couple little treats to send over, and so I'm going to be sending those as soon as I show you guys, basically. So I will show you the project bag that I mentioned in my sewing segment, but I also knit this tiny little thing for Katie. And I'm not worried about showing them because I'm pretty sure that Katie and Kristen are not viewers. If you are watching, you know, and you don't want to be surprised, and you want to be surprised, you should probably look away or actually like skip forward because I'm going to talk about it. But I really don't think they're watching, so I'm not super worried. I know that they watch some of the podcasters that I'm friends with, but they've never commented on mine, so I don't think that they do watch. Okay, so this I made, and it's a little owl post progress keeper. Katie does the owl post segment on her podcast when she talks about her mail. So I just thought this would be so appropriate to be the little harbinger of the Gilmore Girls project bag. You may have seen before that I made little Potter progress keepers using the charms from the Care of Magical Creatures charm bracelet by Tiny Owl Knits, and this is another pattern from that. Very, very simple and incredibly cute. And then I put the addition of the little letter, which I just bought on Amazon, and it makes it slightly heavy, not really too heavy to use as a progress keeper on most things, but I probably wouldn't use it on like a really delicate lace or something like that. Without the letter, it weighs like nothing at all. These make excellent progress keepers because they're very light and very small. I just think they're so fun. So I did that. The yarn, the main color is Stroll Tonal and Pearlescent, which was left over from my Renesmee socks. And then the only yellow I had sitting around was Cat Sandwich fibers, Cat Sandwich yarn, I think is what it's called. In her, this expletive is Bananas, Bananas colorway, which I'm going to knit a pair of socks out of very soon. So it's a, you know, it's Cat Sandwich, so it's all variegated and speckled and everything, but it had a good portion of yellow, so I just used that. And then the black is just Knit Pick Stroll. And then what I made for Kristen is really silly. I couldn't get this idea out of my head. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen it modeled on my cute little Augie cat. This is a cat hat. It's a cat hat, which is a very silly thing, but I think it's kind of fun for like a photograph, and it was certainly fun to make. And as soon as I had the idea to do a unicorn cat hat for her cat Bella, I just couldn't get it out of my head because Kristen loves unicorns and she loves her cat. I love cats. And I thought I could make the base black and it would totally blend into Bella's black fur, and then you would just see the mane and the horn and it would be so cute. So I made this. You can see a photo of my cat wearing it if you want to see what that looks like on my Instagram. And yeah, there it is. I'll just walk you through how I made this. So I didn't use a particular pattern. I got the general gist of the base from a pattern called Dino Hat or Dinosaur Hat, something like that, that was free on Ravelry. But it was for worsted weight yarn or something like that, DK, I don't remember. And I wanted to use fingering, that was just what I had. So I basically just cast on one end, increased, bind off, recast on for the ear holes, start decreasing, same thing, and did some crochet chains to tie under the cat's neck, and then under its chin. And then I did, you know, this nice little mane. And for the horn, I basically just picked up some stitches and started going round and round, and then I got this spiral effect by purling on one row and then just sort of moving where the purl was to give it that spiral. So the black is just Knit Picks Stroll. The horn itself is Knit Picks Stroll Glimmer, which is their Stellina base, and it's in the colorway Chrome. And then the mane is some leftover Little Bean Loves and Hortensia, as well as some Kid Silk, what's it called? Rowan Kid Silk Night, which is their Stellina Kid Silk in the colorway Fountain. And then this bright pink is Knit Picks, and it is something violet, Shocking Violet, I think. It's one of their neon colorways. And I bought it for contrasting for a pair of Halloween socks I have planned. Anyway, it's all on the project page if I got that name wrong, but those are the yarns, the colorways. Yeah, so that's my little cat hat. So let's talk about WIPs. Why don't I start with what's new? I have started another cardigan. As you know, I finished my Floam last week, and I wanted to start the Andromeda with hedgehog fibers in the pine colorway on their skinny singles base. This is the yarn. Incredibly beautiful. Absolutely in love with this yarn. And here's what I have so far. This is a raglan cardigan knit seamlessly. So you start at the back of the neck with this garter ridge, and then you just start your increases. And here, the sort of lapel, the garter lapel, is actually getting larger as it goes down the body, and it's actually going to get dramatically large by the bottom, so that you have these sort of triangular lapels of garter stitch in the front. 3/4 length sleeves with garter cuffs and this garter ridge all the way around. And other than that, just a pretty simple stockinette. The yarn is knitting up absolutely beautifully. I love the colors, and I love the spacing and the way the speckles are distributing. I started this once and knit for an evening and then ripped back because I had issues with the fabric. It was just way too loose. I think I was using the needle they called for, and I ended up sizing down 2 needle sizes to a 4. So I was using a 6, which I think is what they called for, and they might have even called for a 7 because I usually try at least 1 size down before I start. And you know, of course, I should have gauge swatched, but I just didn't because I was excited, and you know how it is. That was bad, but that's okay. I really like the fabric I'm getting now. I'm very glad that I made the executive decision to rip back. I'm trying to be more confident with frogging when I need to. It's difficult, but I'm working on it. I'm inspired by other podcasters who know how to frog when frogging is what has to happen. Rather than wasting your time making something that you're unsatisfied with. So I've got these incredibly beautiful hexagon stitch holders on here that I love, and my little s'mores guy who gets a lot of work. Put him on things all the time. He's just so much fun, and he seems to go with the colors of so many things that I knit. So the other thing I had started doing on the original that I'm not doing now is I started alternating skeins. I don't know if there's like a trick to alternating skeins that I don't know what it is, but I just feel like it screws with me. Like, I don't know how to hide it properly. I don't know how to keep it from loosening and affecting the gauge in that area where you're alternating. I have the same issue when I do manual stripes. Please help me out if you know. But I decided that I was just not going to, because the speckles are so evenly distributed. I was looking at all the yarn together. It's all the same dye lot, and I just decided I was going to be confident. We shall find out if I regret that later. But for now, I'm just gonna not alternate. But I do have a plan for a project coming up that I feel like I'm going to need to alternate skeins on, because it's a smaller indie dyer than this, and it is an entire sweater, and so I need to just do some research and figure out what I'm doing wrong and how I can alternate skeins more successfully. But I just decided not to for this because I just really wanted to get going on it. I was enjoying it, and I felt relatively confident that it wasn't going to look bad. So hopefully before I'm ready to start that other project, I can just do that research and get it out of the way, and then it won't feel like it's holding me up. I don't think there's anything else to say about this. It is insanely soft. I don't know if you've ever knit with Hedgehog Fibers skinny singles, but they have a lovely halo and just very, very soft merino wool. Smells amazing, looks amazing, feels amazing. I'm incredibly excited about this, and I'm enjoying knitting it. Oh, I know what else I wanted to say about it. I've taken the advice, well, not even the advice, but just the personal habit of Tommy from Squirrel Pie Productions, and marked up my pattern, and I think it's helping me to be more efficient. So I don't want to show you too much of this because, I feel like you're not supposed to do that. Even though I don't think somebody's going to like screenshot this and then they have part of the pattern that they can then not buy the pattern. I mean, like, obviously I don't think that's realistically going to happen. But, I don't want to show you too much of it just because I feel like that's probably not cool. I don't know. But this is the pattern. This is how I have it marked up. The pink highlighting is showing me the correct number for the size that I'm doing. That way I don't have to keep looking for it every time. I've scratched out the sections that are for sizes I'm not doing so that I can just bypass them. And then most importantly, I have gone in and I have actually numbered, there you go, numbered, is it blowing it out? Yeah. Numbered the rows. So what I did is, it'll say something like next row, next row, next row. And I've actually listed what that number would be, and then you get back to the bottom of this, right, and it's like repeat these 4 rows 10 times. So then I created this little chart so that on each repeat I'm doing a column and it has the number for exactly what row I'm on, and then I'm using a row counter on my phone to keep track of my rows as well. And all of that, just sort of outsourcing that work to the page and the phone and just having it all organized so that I don't have to hold it in my brain, I think is doing a lot to just speed up the process. It makes it more enjoyable. I sit down with this at the beginning with it all marked up. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I've already read through the pattern. Like, if you cook, then you know that reading a recipe before you start is so important. And yet I never really do that with knitting, in detail. And this sort of helps me to do that. I know what every row is going to be, what every repeat is going to be in detail before I've done it. And so it makes the whole process more enjoyable and more efficient. So I'm thrilled about it. I feel like I'm going to be doing this a lot for especially garments and anything else, complex lace, things like that. So thank you, Tommy, for sharing your process and inspiring me to do something similar, because I am loving it. The next WIP is something that I haven't made a ton of headway with this week, but I'll just show you anyway, because I have knit on it, and that is my Ayla tank, which is my project for the Great Unravel, as well as for the Summer Garment KAL. I've talked at length about this in the past, but it's just coming along. I don't even know what else there's to say. Oh, I have hit the waist shaping now. So I've just started the waist shaping. And once I get through that, I'll have about 20 more rows, I think. And then I'll have the lace at the bottom, and then I'll be done. So I was initially thinking I would like to be done with this by my birthday. Now, just because I'm excited about other projects, I'm starting to think that's possibly not going to work. My birthday is next week. But that's okay. I don't want to lose steam on it though. I'm definitely in that black hole place. But I want to keep plugging along, because for one thing I want the garment, and for another I'm excited about the next summer garment I'm going to start after this. So, you know, I need to keep my head in the game. I'm still loving knitting garments, just totally into it. So if you've missed it, I'll just briefly give you the run over on this. The yarn I unraveled is a ribbon cotton poly blend from a white cardigan that had been painted with black flowers once it had been knit. So I unraveled it with a sort of sock blank inspiration, sorted the balls into ones that were more heavily speckled and less heavily speckled, and then I've been doing a bit of a gradient with those balls on the way down. It's pooled a little bit more in the back and in some places here now that it's less heavily speckled. I am not the biggest fan of pooling, but this project is very much about the process and about having fun. So I'm trying not to worry too much or try to plan too much how the distribution of these speckles is going to work, because the sort of random surprise fun of it is kind of the whole point. So yeah, so I'm good. I'm good with that. This is in my, and now it's sticking out. This is in my field bag from French Supply, which everyone has, and of course all the cool kids put their little enamel pins on it, so I have those as well. What is it with the weird little micro trends of the tiny niche that is the knitting community? Okay, I have one final WIP for you. Excuse me while I crush ice in my mouth. And that is my Marlene. So I've been on this a little bit this week. Obviously I've put a lot of my attention into the cardigan. I had a whole night wrapped up in that got frogged, and these little things, and I've done a lot of sewing this week as well. So I don't have huge progress on anything, but you'll see that this little progress keeper is marking how far I had gotten when you saw it before. I just started it. And then this progress keeper is keeping my progress from individual sit-down sessions. So I just knit really briefly on this this morning before working on something else, because I wanted to get back to a state of having the right number of increases. So I had kind of fallen asleep at the wheel, and when I was doing my increase rows, apparently a couple times I did not increase on this side. So this side had fewer ridges. So I added in some increases, and now I'm back to where I should be. Obviously, that means it's asymmetrical. There's, going to be some more sprouting of new branches here, over here and some places where it's sort of gone too long without sprouting. So it's not perfect. This is way more of a process knit for me than a product knit, which is the main reason why I am just rolling with it. In addition to the fact that I feel like you would barely know, like even as I hold it up for you, you know, because I just told you, probably you can tell, but in the grand scheme of things, I just don't think it's that noticeable. There is one thing that I'm having some regret on in this project. I talked about how initially I used the Bramble, which is the speckled yarn, as the main colorway and the semi-solid coral as the complementing, and then I changed. And now I'm kind of regretting that because I love the Bramble so much, and I really feel like with brioche, this does look like the wrong side because they don't connect in the middle. I just feel like that compared to this really does look like the underside, and so when I wear this, I feel like I'm really gonna wanna wear it this side out and not so much this side out. And that frustrates me because I love the Bramble, and the Bramble is sort of my favorite color. Initially, I fell in love with the Bramble, and I found the coral just to complement it because I knew I wanted to do brioche with it. So this is the Bramble, absolutely beautiful colorway, and the coral, which is gorgeous as well, of course. And then in the brioche, you can see the speckling of that gorgeous, gorgeous Bramble yarn. Brioche is one of my favorite things to do with a lovely variegated or speckled yarn, especially paired with a semi-solid, because you get this effect where, like here, the way brioche works, you're knitting across even though it's creating these columns. So right here, you knit this stitch and then this stitch and then this stitch. And you can tell that they're all colorful, right? But they're separated out. So there's more isolation in where the color pops up. Whereas in a different kind of knitting, you would have these little lines of several stitches in a row, all kind of touching each other. And you'd see the relation between how the color was distributed on the yarn. And here, each colored stitch sort of lives more in isolation, and the stitches that it's directly touching are totally different colors than it because of that chain effect. I hope that makes sense. I talked about that a little bit with my last brioche project, and that was a yarn that was called Nesting, and it was sort of peacock feathers, and I really felt like it gave this appearance of like a peacock tail, and I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous, and I'm really liking the way these colors are playing together as well. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I just want to knit brioche forever. I keep thinking about more combinations I would want to do of yarns, and I'm really loving the idea of doing some brioche mini shawls and kind of learning more about the construction of a brioche shawl, and then possibly designing my own. So that's something that I might do at some point. I certainly think it would be fun. And yeah, and this is also Hedgehog Fiber Skinny Singles, so it's also incredibly soft and wonderful and smells amazing. So let's talk about stash enhancement, and then I will get into some sewing. And stash enhancement this week is all about sewing. It is all fabric. So let me show you what I got. So first up, I have the plan to make myself some leggings. I love to sleep in leggings and wear leggings around the house, cute little printed ones that I got at Forever 21. And I just loved the idea of making some for myself, just using the leggings that I already have as a guide. So I got some fabric. First of all, I got this, which I'm sure you've seen before. Tommy made a top out of it, and then I think Kristen made something, maybe a dress out of it when she saw Tommy's. And Tommy of Squirrel Pie Productions and Kristen of Yarngasm. It's got bats, it's got flowers, and it's mauve. It's amazing. So I love this, and I definitely don't know that I would wear a garment out of it. I would probably wear a t-shirt, but I loved the idea of leggings out of it because it's a little eye-catching for me for an everyday garment, just for my personal style. But the bats and the color are so me. Like, bats are my favorite animal. I have a stuffed bat. I'm completely obsessed with bats. So I kind of had to have it. So I love the idea of this as leggings. And then if I have enough and leftovers, maybe I will throw together some kind of t-shirt or something for myself, tank, something like that. Again, probably mostly to wear around the house, but you know, on more casual days as well and stuff. And the other legging jersey I bought is this big bold floral, which just reminds me so much of like stuff we would wear in the 90s, and I love that. I love the idea of these giant roses on leggings. So I will have to be careful about how I cut these out to get some of my favorite pieces of the floral in, because obviously this is like a larger print than you would ordinarily see on something small. It's going to cut a lot of it out, I'm sure, and I just want to have them placed in good spots. But I love how oversized they are. And then I got some more jersey for a jersey Bateen dress. You can alter the Bateen dress to be jersey by simply eliminating the pocket front and doing a slightly different neckline. There's information on that on Tilly's blog. I would like to have pockets too, so I think that I'm going to throw in some jersey pockets, just something that'll work better with jersey, just simple pocket bags on the side seams of the skirt. But I got this for it, which is fantastic. Definitely a great like everyday jersey dress. And then I got some woven fabric for 2 more Bateen dresses. This, which probably looks like a little bit much for a dress, but I just love it so much that I just can't help it. It's pink and it has Princess Fairy castles on it, so maybe it's a little childish, but it also has these sort of ominous looking black birds, so I feel like that helps. I just love this, and obviously I can make a project bag out of it or something, but I want a beautiful princess castle dress. I just do, and I'm like, I just want one. I'm probably going to make it for myself, and maybe I'm going to wear it on my birthday. And yeah, it's my 29th birthday, and maybe a pink castle dress is a little much, but I just like it, you guys, so I'm just going to. And then I will definitely use the leftovers to make a very cherished project bag, I'm sure. And then finally, this was a little bit of a treat yourself moment because it's a bit expensive because it's Liberty fabric, but I just couldn't stop looking at it. This incredibly complex wildflower print with the strawberries. The strawberries are what kills me. I just am happy every time I look at this, and I get why it's twice as much as the other fabric, because the care and the thought and the art that goes into making something like this, I respect a lot, and I'm in love with it, and I think it would make a gorgeous dress, and it's incredibly light too, so it'll be, I think it's even a little bit lighter, maybe slightly lighter than the fabric I'm wearing now, so anyway, excited about this. The other piece of stash enhancement that's not fabric is actually a project bag, and that's a Hanalisa project bag, which you may have seen. I saw them on Inside Number 23, and then I ordered mine immediately because I absolutely loved it, and I had been looking for a sweater size project bag that I would love for a while, and just absolutely adored it. And then I saw it on Taylor's podcast as well. But this is where my Marley is living, which is great because it matches the Marley perfectly. And it's just got this lovely felt base. And it's yummy. It has copper zipper with a leather zipper pull. very, very, very yummy. Okay, so let's talk sewing. I have made 3 project bags in the last 2 days. The first one is for Katie, and this is the Gilmore Girls Patchwork Project Bag. So you've seen this fabric before if you've been watching for a long time, but I will just take you through it again. Snow for, obviously, Gilmore Girls. Books for Rory, Dragonflies for the Dragonfly Inn, coffee, obviously. The stars are for Stars Hollow. Pizza, Autumn Time, music, and especially David Bowie, whom Lorelai loves, and then donuts. And it's all lined with the stars as well. And it has a little black zipper. I have been struggling with zippers and getting them the way that I want them. So this is unfortunately not as perfect as I would like it to be. I don't know if you struggle with wanting things to be more perfect when they're for someone else, but I definitely do, and especially making something for another crafter like Katie, where, she's such a great seamstress, and I know that she'll actually notice things like this. I'm sure that she won't love it any less, and she'll still appreciate it, and blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, you want to show adequate care, and when you're making something for someone else, you don't want it to seem like you just threw it together. You want it to feel like a lot of work, and not a lot of work, but like a lot of care went into it. So that's a little bit frustrating for me, and you will see on these 3 project bags the evolution of me finally figuring out what I'm doing wrong, and then getting closer and closer to doing it the right way. And on the final project bag, which I finished just a little while ago, the zipper is how I want it to be. So it's just a learning experience. Like, I haven't made project bags before, and I can't tell you how often Murphy's Law comes up when I'm sewing. It's just, there's so many things, there's so many moving parts, so many different seams and things that meet together in connections. Oh my gosh, the sun, excuse me. Sorry about that. The sun was just coming through the leaves in the front of my house and making some crazy stuff happen on my face. Anyway, so I'm kind of excited to show you guys the difference. So this zipper kind of disappears here where I really wanted it to be standing up and showing off the trim like it did on this side. But, you live and you learn. So then the next project bag I made is this giant one for myself, and this is a Ghastly's project bag. Huge. This is something I could keep a very large sweater in, or a blanket. And the reason it's so huge is because I got a little carried away with like what I wanted to include from the fabric. So the Ghastly's fabric, I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's everywhere. It's amazing. This fabric is my Patronus. This fabric I purchased at a Hobby Lobby a while ago with the intention of doing some little like embroidery projects where I would maybe cut out like a couple of the characters and put them in a hoop, and then like emphasize, like go over her bows or something like that, or add some kind of thing. And I ended up just never getting around to it. I was just doing other things. I kind of wasn't on an embroidery kick. And I found it recently when we cleaned out our attic, and I knew that I wanted to make a project bag out of it. So I wanted to include, here are the characters I really wanted to include. This awesome flapper, and then also the pregnant lady with the baby buggy. And so I didn't want to cut in any weird places. I wanted to kind of keep everybody mostly in frame. So I ended up with this pretty large piece. Of course, she's like kind of poking her head over, which is neat. And I really liked the idea of combining it with the leftover Stars Hollow fabric. This is a thicker canvas, so it makes a nice base. And I definitely could have made the base a little bit shorter, you know, and I would have had a more reasonable sized bag, but I just kind of got carried away. So it ended up being huge, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not mad about. And the reason for that is I was initially planning this as more of just like a sweater project bag, like a normal sweater size. I wanted like another sweater size project bag, like this size, like the Annalisa. But I got carried away, so I made something bigger. And that's not a problem because I do think having a huge project bag will come in handy. I probably won't use this as frequently as some of the others, which is a bit of a bummer because it is so cute. But that's okay. I'll need a giant blanket project bag eventually. Or I can just put a sweater project in there and be okay with the fact that there's a lot of extra room. I mean, that's also an option. I used this cute little pink zipper, and then I did the handle. This is the lining fabric, and the lining is actually a top sheet. So this is a sheet we got at Target a while ago. I absolutely love it, the Swiss cross pattern. And actually this looks pretty cute, folded down like that. I'm into it. Like when you have it open and you're working on your project. Anyway, we don't use top sheets because my husband doesn't like them. So I had just held on to it because it was just so pretty and I didn't want to get rid of it. And I kind of vaguely had the idea that I might use the fabric for something, even though I hadn't even moved it into my fabric stash. I still had it literally with the sheets where we stored sheets, even though I wasn't using it. So silly. And then recently we bought another set of sheets and had another top sheet that we weren't going to use, and that sort of, as I was putting it away, inspired me to take both of the top sheets and put them with the fabric stash so that they would be there when I was thinking about it when I needed them. And I think they're going to just be perfect. They're good for lining. I think they're going to be great for lining clothing as well. Like with the Bateen dress, you have a facing for the inside of the collar, and you have facings and little pocket sacks for the pockets. And I think it would be really cute to do like a contrasting but simple minimal fabric like this. For that, obviously you wouldn't see it from the outside, but you would know it was there. You would see it when you got dressed, and it would be a nice little detail. So I'm really glad that I brought those sheets down because I don't have a very large fabric stash at all. Like I barely have anything, and I wouldn't have even been able to make this bag because I didn't have anything to line it with at all. I've been talking for a long time about how I need more project bags and I want to make them, but I've just been hesitating about buying fabric for them because something feels so wasteful about that when I know that I can use leftovers from garments, from garment sewing. And every time I would get on fabric.com, I would just want to dedicate all of my resources to fabric for garments that I was more excited about instead of buying it specifically for a project bag. And so because I didn't have anything sitting around, I was just really glad that I had that sheet because that meant that I could construct this entire huge thing out of fabric that I just had lying around the house, and it turned out really, really cute. And then I made a third one. You can see also zipper talk. This zipper, you can almost see there the little bit of the Swiss dot fabric that I put on the zipper, but it just got hidden because I didn't use the right measurement. I had the zipper as long as the fabric instead of as long as the fabric minus the part you were going to, the selvage edge you were going to sew for the seam. So it had to get sewn into the seam because it was too long. Oops. Third project bag, finally got the zipper right and made it a more reasonable size for a sweater. So this is what I'm currently storing the Andromeda in. And I made it 100% out of salvaged bedding. And that is this lovely linen project bag. So here's the zipper. Beautiful, isn't it? That's what I was going for. That's what I've wanted this whole time. Finally got it right. Finally got it right. This is the second top sheet that I mentioned. I have also lined the bag in that top sheet, and the outside is from a linen duvet that I loved and adored. Very soft, very nice, very expensive. Got one too many holes in it and was just ripping all the hell. Just several bad incidents. You have a cat, you have spiked heels, you have a husband who is, you know, kind of hulks out at unexpected moments and breaks things sometimes when he's sleeping, and just pulls on things in his sleep, hence why we can't have a top sheet. And so we just couldn't use it anymore because it had too many rips in it. But I kept it because I was like, this is wonderful washed linen, just absolutely gorgeous, soft, beautiful fabric. And I hadn't made anything out of it. We retired it from our bed almost a year ago. And then today I just got inspired with the whole top sheet thing. And I thought, I'm gonna really show that off. And I think it turned out to be such a lovely bag. I didn't actually do a wristlet handle on this one. I was going to, and then I actually forgot. But I'm not mad about it because in every other way this bag is perfect, and you know, you can just grab onto it. The Annalisa doesn't have a handle either, and I love it. So yeah, so I'm very, very pleased with all of the project bag sewing that I have done this weekend. It's been great. And that means that it is time to move on to Chit Chat. So for Chit Chat, what should I work on? I'm gonna work on my, I'm gonna work on my Marley for Chit Chat. It's relatively mindless. Watch me screw it up now because I'm talking to you guys. But you know, I want to knit on something, and I forgot to bring up a vanilla sock with me because I don't have one going. And if I work on the Ayla, then I would have to take a break to count and figure out what row I'm on and when I'm going to come up to more waist shaping, because I haven't worked on that in a few days, so I'm just going to do this. Okay, so if you're taken off because you're not interested in Chit Chat, just, you know, thanks for watching. That's totally fine. I hope you subscribe if you want to watch me again, and I'll see you later. And if you're sticking around, let's get into it. So this is Memorial Day weekend, as I mentioned. It's really lovely because I have an ultra long weekend. I had a half day on Friday and we get Monday off, which is tomorrow. And just lovely. My husband actually thought he was going to be working today, but somebody asked him to trade shifts. So he found out yesterday, you know, one day into his weekend, that he was going to get a 3-day weekend. So we're just chilling around the house today, which is really nice. Yesterday we spent some time in our neighborhood. We read in the, oh, I just knocked my yarn down. We read in the park. We had a lovely dinner at one of my favorite restaurants in our neighborhood, and then we went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy at one of our favorite movie theaters that does table service. So that was really, really lovely. I had a local peach goza beer from my favorite brewer, Rheingeist, and watched an incredible movie, which was super, super fun. And then today we've just been chilling out. My husband went on a run with one of our best friends who lives in the house behind us. That's not actually how we met him. It's just a coincidence that he lives next to us now. Just because all the cool people live in this neighborhood, basically. So, and I've just been, you know, sewing project bags and chilling around the house. And then tomorrow we're going to see some family, so that'll be nice. I just love a long weekend. I don't like going out of town on holiday weekends because they tend to be more crowded. with whatever you're going to do, and it tends to be more expensive and stuff. What I like is, you know, if you want to take a long weekend out of town, is making a long weekend for yourself where you just take Monday off or Friday off. And when it's a national long weekend, I like to just chill out and take it easy for a while and have like a little rest staycation with lots of knitting and lots of eating of delicious food and spending time with loved ones. So I hope that if you are somewhere where you celebrate Memorial Day, that you are having a wonderful holiday as well. And then this is just the beginning of a huge sort of exciting week for me in terms of just, you know, I'm in vacation land right now. So this is my birthday week, and it started with a half day on Friday, followed by 3 days off, followed by a couple days of working, and then one of my work days, Thursday, is basically half day because the second half we're going to have our Q2 celebration, which is something we do like sometimes quarterly. I mean, the Q means quarterly, but we don't always necessarily do it. We don't know what we're doing yet. It's always a surprise. Like in the summer, a lot of times we'll go canoeing. In the past, it's been like a Reds baseball game or going to the Keeneland horse races or something like that. We've gone to the park. It'll probably be something outdoors and nice because it's springtime. And then the next day after that is Friday, where I'm taking another half day because my husband and I are going to go to a music festival in town called Bunbury and see the Shins and Death Cab for Cutie, which are two of my favorite bands. And then it'll be into the next weekend, and Sunday will be my birthday. So I am just like, I am on cloud nine right now because I'm essentially having this just cluttered together abundance of vacations and celebrations and holidays, and the weather is beautiful, and everything's just going great right now. I'm feeling very happy. I feel like I had a very happy, chatty chit chat last week because I was high off of having our family in town, not in town, having our family over at our house. And I'm sort of in the same mood now. So I'm just enjoying life a lot right now. I'm enjoying the weather and enjoying the people, and it's a really nice feeling. I hope that you are having a good time of it as well. You know, we all have our highs and our lows, and sometimes we don't acknowledge the highs or take enough time to feel happy and feel gratitude for it when you're feeling good. And I certainly don't feel good all of the time. But I'm feeling very good right now, and I'm trying to make the most of it and take the time really to notice that and kind of take note of it, soak it in, and try to extend it. So that's where I'm at. And the other thing that I want to mention to you guys is just something I've been enjoying lately, which is actually a combination of two unrelated forms of media that are kind of related. And then here's how. I just finished this audiobook called First Women, which is about the first ladies of the modern first ladies, so Jackie O onward, basically the second half of the 20th century first ladies, and into Michelle Obama. It was published before Melania. Well, not before Melania existed, but before she was first lady. It was published last year. So it doesn't comment on her. But it's really, really well written. It bounces around a lot instead of being just directly chronological. So it does a lot of comparing the way that they handle different sort of similar situations and pressures. And I really got to know better some women who I didn't know a lot about before. And then I found out more interesting things about women who I did know pretty well. I became completely obsessed with Betty Ford, like completely. And I already knew the breast cancer thing and the Betty Ford clinic, but there's even more to her, you guys. She danced with Martha Graham's company and like a million other amazing things. So at this point, I basically want to write a Curtis Sittenfeld American Wife style novel based on Betty Ford's life instead of Laura Bush's life, which American Wife is an amazing novel if you haven't read it. Curtis Sittenfeld is one of my favorite writers, and she's from Cincinnati, and Laura Bush is also a fascinating figure. And that is a novelization of her life, essentially. I mean, it changes the names and places of people, but it's Laura Bush. And I'm like, oh my God, has anybody written a novel about Betty Ford, and can I? Because there is a lot of story there. Just the way that she ends up as First Lady, her husband never ran for anything because he stepped in as Vice President when Spiro Agnew was disgraced, and then he became president when Nixon resigned. So they went from not even being in the White House to being the president and First Lady within a matter of a couple years, and not having ever asked for or wanted or thought they would have any of that. Just a fascinating story, and everything about her as a person is incredibly fascinating and inspiring. There were 2 assassination attempts on his life that she had to endure. Her father had died in a possible suicide when she was a teenager. Then she became a dancer. She went to Bennington, and then ends up as this non-traditional First Lady who's very outspoken, much more liberal than her husband, supports the ERA and is pro-choice, and just basically amazing. And and if you don't know about the breast cancer stuff in the Betty Ford clinic, she came out about her own addiction and created this clinic that is still one of the best treatment centers in the country. And she also came forward and publicly talked about her experience with breast cancer at a time when nobody even wrote the word cancer in an obituary. And because of that, saved the lives of just untold numbers of women and completely changed the way that we talk about cancer and sickness in American society, and like took the stigma off of it. And this is one person did all of these things. Like, I could go on about Betty Ford forever. So anyway, I will try not to. And I will tell you the other piece of culture that has sort of been crossing over with this, which is the podcast, the auditory podcast, Presidents Are People Too, which is put out by Audible, but you can get it on iTunes and stuff as well. And it's a really great little history podcast, short. They talk about all the presidents, they do them out of order, and they give you cute little like comedy sketches, and they talk to historians, and they talk these different angles. And it's really interesting to listen to the episodes about presidents who you didn't know anything about, like Chester B. Arthur. Oh my God, did you even know that was a president? Like, who knows who that is? And then you kind of learn about them, and it really sticks with me, the stories, the way they're presented on this podcast. I think I said Chester B. Arthur. I meant Chester A. Arthur. Anyway, nobody even knows his name because he's so unfamous. But these stories stick with me more from this podcast than they would normally in like any other format of learning it. And the hosts are just really great. The way they organize the story, the way they tell it in a variety of ways is just really, really awesome. So if you're at all interested in presidential history, and at a time like this, I don't know why you wouldn't be, because it's just interesting to put things in a historical context. I totally recommend this podcast, and I also recommend the book a lot if you're interested at all in First Ladies, which again, like, why wouldn't you be interested in a woman in a very strange public eye kind of position, and a job that has never really been formally defined, and all of these different women approaching it in different ways. I mean, it's really fascinating portrait, and I enjoyed it a lot. So that's all I have for you this week. I really hope that you enjoyed spending some time with me, taking a look at my projects, and Yeah, let me know if you have tips or tutorials to direct me to for alternating skeins. I appreciate that. Um, and thanks for watching. Make sure you give me the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. It helps other people find me. Join the Ravelry group if you haven't yet. If you are the Zensha, get in touch with me on Ravelry about your prize. If you're not, you might be hearing from me soon on the podcast because maybe you won. Next week, we'll find out. So next week is my birthday. If I do record, I will be recording on Saturday the 3rd because my husband will be working that day, whereas he will have my birthday, Sunday the 4th off, and I will be spending it with him. So I'll be recording a day early. If I do it all, it is possible that other things will come up. I have a friend in town who I haven't seen for years, and she was one of 2 bridesmaids at my wedding, and I haven't seen her since then, which was 3.5 years ago. So, you know, if the only time she can hang out is when I was going to record my podcast, then it's not going to get recorded. I don't know what to tell you. So, possible I won't be here, but I probably will. And if not, I'll be here the week after that. So, yeah. Thanks for watching and commenting and participating in every way. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next week.